everyone, it's Shell from Scrap Secrets and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be using the Simon Hurley stamping foam to create this card. So to start off, I'm going to take one of the two blocks, it comes in a 2-pack, which measures 4.5 by 5 3/4, and I'm going to use my Wagner heat tool to heat it up. You're going to want to heat it up for about 25 to 30 seconds and then have on hand what you want to have an impression of. So this is going to do reverse image stamping, and there's so much that you can do with this. I'm super excited. I watched a bunch of Simon's videos, and there's just so many different things you can do with this stamping block. So super excited about showing you guys the techniques. I think I'm going to do like a little mini series on it. So this gives a really good impression. It's not as deep as a regular stamped image, but you get a pretty cool result. So I'm going to ink the image up, just the outside of it, with 2 of Simon Hurley's inks. Clear Skies is what I was going with first, and then Remember Me, which is the color that I'm using now. I inked it up with 2 different colors of blue, and then what you want to do is you want to take a spray bottle and do a very fine mist of water. You want to make sure that you hold it about 8 to 12 inches away from the block. I did it a little bit too close here. And again, this is only the second time that I've ever done this. So it still takes a little, it's kind of like a trial and error process because it's never going to be the exact same process twice. So it's just one of those things that, you know, you will get better the more you use it. So now I'm taking a piece of cardstock that measures 4.25 by 5.5 and putting that over top of the block. I'm also going to get I think it's called the rock block. This is so old. This is when I used to do a lot with 6x6 background stamps and putting pressure on it. If you don't have that, you can kind of put a Misty over top of it or a piece of paper and press down. I have wrist issues, so this was a little bit easier. You can put a piece of paper down and then use the tools that you use for the Misty to get a good impression. So I think I had a little bit too much water, especially on that left-hand side, but for the second time of doing this, I think it came out pretty good. Cleanup is super easy. You're just gonna put water on the block, wipe it off with a rag, paper towel, it doesn't matter. And then if you don't want to keep that image, you're just going to reheat it and the block will go back to essentially the way it was before you did your impression. And then any ink that's in those fine debossed lines is going to raise back up and you can wipe it down again. Super easy. The ink comes off very well on this, especially with the Simon Hurley inks. I think those are the only inks that I've used on this block so far, but I'll have to do a test. Oh, I also took that die. It's Hero Arts Fancy Die Cloud Window, and I put it underneath and ran it through my die cut machine. And the reason that I did that is because it gives the reverse image, so I couldn't put the die down and use it normally. So I did the reverse. Didn't line up exactly perfectly, but it kind of gave a cool texture because there's an embossed part of it that's white and it's not exactly lined up together. So I love the background. The card base that I'm using is a pre-made card base, which measures 4 by 5.5. So I did have to cut the front panel down a teeny tiny bit, and so I did that off screen. And now we're working right on the card base because I didn't want to put too much bulk to it. So I went right down onto the card base. And this is a Colorful Life Designs Cloud Edger stencil. One of my absolute favorite stencils. And I'm using, I believe this is Stormy Sky. I'm using the same exact colors of ink. I'm using the Simon Hurley inks, I believe, to do the clouds. And this stencil is probably my most used stencil right now. I'm loving doing backgrounds with all different kinds of colors. So again, this is Simon Hurley's Clear Skies and Remember Me. I just went in with those same colors that I used for the background. They're going to look a little bit different because one has some water on them, so they're a little watered down, and this one is coming straight from the ink pad. So I'm going to create a cloud pattern, and I'm just keep putting the piece on top of it to see how much of that background I need to do. I know I don't have to go all the way down to the bottom, but I think I end up doing that anyways. I kind of just fill up the whole entire panel. So I am loving this technique of doing the stamping foam. Like I said, it's only the second time that I've done it, but I did watch some of Simon's videos and there are a lot of great ideas of things you can do with it. I'm super excited to continue to use it and show you guys what other things you can do. So now we're going to get on to stamping the image that's going to be on the front of the card. And this is a door with the clouds. This is from a Hero Arts kit. I believe this is the February kit. And we're going to be using some Lawn Fawn jet black ink to ink up the image. Now, this kit is more of the abstract Salvador Dali art, that kind of design, that kind of feel, the Impressionists, which I love. I was in Talented Art and I was obsessed with Salvador Dali. We saw a lot of his stuff when we went to Italy, and I just loved it. I took art history and we went to the art museum in Philadelphia and got to see some of the Impressionist paintings, and I just really, really like that style of painting. It just, it's probably my favorite. So when I saw this kit, I felt like I had to get it. And then I realized I love it, but it's not the kind of cards that I do. So this card is completely out of my comfort zone. It is something that I never would have picked for myself if it wasn't in the kit, but I love the way it came out. So I'm going to challenge you guys to do something that's completely out of your comfort zone. Make a card using colors or stamps or something that's just not you at all, because it is so much fun. I had such a great time putting this card together, and I couldn't wait to do this video. I was upset my phone and my iPad were not connecting last night. I did this card last night and I tried to upload everything and it just didn't work. And I was so upset because I wanted to do the voiceover to get this out, because I was super excited about this card and I was really proud of the way that it turned out. So back to the coloring. I am using some V colored markers, V17, V probably 04. I'm trying to read them here. I usually leave the caps on the screen, but I don't know. I realize that the light is reflecting off of the glass mat and some of it I probably leave the cap right there, so you might not be able to see it, but I know V17 is definitely one of them. It doesn't really matter. You can pick whatever colors you want. I just thought that these colors, like the purple colors, looked really nice with those shades of blue that I chose. So I am just doing some basic Copic coloring, nothing really fancy here, coloring in the panels of the door and then the insets of the panel and then the actual door itself with a darker shade of Copic marker. So like I said, I just kind of picked up Copic markers and I'm like, okay, these ones look like they'll probably go good together. I really didn't focus on much shading. I did a little bit of it, but that's not the focal image. This door is not the focal image for the entire card. So once that is all done, then we're going to move on to the B markers and color around the clouds. I wanted it to match kind of close to the background. I kind of thought maybe it was like you were looking through the door and it was kind of looking at the background. To make it look like it was a little bit see-through. So I believe I picked B10, B12, and maybe B14. Those might be there. But again, these colors, you can go ahead and pick whatever colors you could do. You could do a purple sky, a green sky, you could do a night sky in this. That's what's so cool about this, is that I think this is open to a lot of interpretations, because it's not, you don't open a door and see the clouds like this usually, so it's one of those images that doesn't have to be realistic. I'm just going to color in the back of the sky to match. I went around the clouds with the lighter color and now I'm going around with darker colors. This is my problem, is that I think, like, I'll look at the caps and I think one color is darker than another, and it turns out that it's not. So I thought this one was the darker this one was the lighter color. It's not. So I went and I re-outlined the clouds. Wasn't as careful the second time with that darker color. The only thing with this is, since this paper is really, really thin and not meant for Copic markers, the paper was a little saturated, so I think some of it actually bled into the clouds. But again, you're not really going to be focusing on this, so it's not that big of a deal. I'm going to finish coloring in the sky, and then I'm going to take my Spectrum Noir sparkle pen and go over the clouds, because of course every single one of my cards needs to have a little bit of sparkle and shine to it. So we're going to do that, and then after I go in with that Spectrum Noir sparkle pen, I am going to fussy cut it out. Yes, it's an easy image to fussy cut. I didn't want to bring out the scan and cut. After I'm done fussy cutting, I'm going to go around all of the edges with marker so that you don't see the white core of the paper. I went over the bottom of the sky part with the blue Copic marker, and then I pulled out a black marker to go around the other edges. There wasn't a black line at the bottom of the sky part. I could have completely faked one and done black there, but I didn't want to. I thought it might look a little too harsh, so I used Copic marker there, and the rest I just went around with a black marker to kind of make it look a little bit better, because I'm not the world's best fussy cutter. Now I'm going over the clouds with the Spectrum Noir sparkle pen, again to give it a little bit of sparkle and shine, and in person it really has the shine to it. It's hard to pick up on video. And now we're going to get ready to assemble the card. So I'm placing it on the background and just trying to figure out where I want it to be so the most of the door shows through that cutout. And I thought I was going to lay it on there. I knew I was going to lay the door on there flat, but I wasn't sure about the background piece. So I was kind of going back and forth and kept putting it over top and lifting it up a little bit just to see what I was going to do. So I'm going to use my Honeybee Be Creative glue, and I just put a piece of paper there just to show where the top of that door would be. I didn't want to put a marking on there and then chance having the ink smudge or anything like that. So I just put the piece of paper down, and it's in the general area. It didn't have to be exact. So now I'm going to go in with some low profile foam squares, and I cut the majority of this out so you guys didn't have to sit there and watch me do all that and then take the backing off. So I did spare you guys that. And then I'm going to line up the top and place it over the door, and I had to cut out some of this part because my head kind of got in the way, but it just pops it up just enough to give it a little bit of dimension and look like the clouds are in front of the door. So now we're going to stamp the sentiment in that same Lawn Fawn jet black ink, and this is a quote from Alice in Wonderland. And there's not a coordinating die with this, I don't believe. You know what, I didn't even look. So I do end up fussy cutting this out. I'm not great with fussy cutting other than cutting this into a square. And I didn't want it to be like that. I wanted it to mimic the clouds because the bottom where it says Alice in Wonderland actually nestled perfectly into the bottom left-hand cloud. So I did take my Fisker scissors and just kind of cut around it. And again, I cut most of that out, but I did show you the beginning. And I didn't do real well in the beginning with the bubbles. Like kind of making it bubbly like everybody else does. Again, I need some practice with fussy cutting, but then I kind of got the hang of it, and I went back in and straightened up a couple of the edges, and see right there, it fits in perfectly. So I took that same Honeybee Be Creative glue, put it on the back, and you can see where I stamped the image the first time and the paper moved. Now I'm placing it down, and that is the card. I think it's something that's totally out of my comfort zone and my wheelhouse, but I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments below, and I will see you guys again real soon for another video.